Come here. Get off.
Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of The Turn On.
I love it.
Hey, y'all. Welcome back. This week we are reading Can't Escape Love, which is a Reluctant Royals novella by Alyssa Cole. This was published in 2019, and we're just going to jump in. So sit back, relax, get your wine, get your weed, get your whatever you need, and enjoy.
Can't Escape Love, a Reluctant Royals novella by Alyssa Cole. You know what I've been thinking about all week? Maybe the same thing I've been thinking about? Her voice was husky and she was hot to the touch where their skin brushed. If it's my head between your thighs, then yep, it's the same thing. Oh my God, she laughed and leaned back in her chair, eyes wide, cheeks flushed. She shook her head and then looked down at him like she was an evil queen and he was her minion. You're absolutely right. I've been thinking about that a lot, and I may or may not have touched myself while I did. She arched a brow in challenge. Gus leaned up and forward on his knees, catching her lush mouth with his before she could say anything else. His cock was already so hard, and he just wanted to taste her. She held him by the front of his shirt as their tongues clashed, and he regretted having worn the button-up instead of a polo for Casual Friday. He needed her hands on his body, but he didn't want to take his hands off her. He readjusted himself as he moved closer to her, spreading his legs so that her footrest didn't press into his shins. "Pull it open," he said against her lips. "Just rip it." She leaned her head back by just an inch, but too far for Gus's liking. "But I know how to sew buttons back on. Do it." Then he closed the distance between their lips again, thrusting his tongue into her mouth and sliding his hands up her thighs so both of his thumbs pressed gently into the heat at her juncture. She gasped a muffled curse into his mouth and tugged at his shirt, hard. Buttons went flying as she laughed triumphantly, and then her palms finally spread over his chest. He groaned as her index finger brushed his nipple, and she did it again. He used both of his hands to spread her thighs, and one of his thumbs found the nub of her clit through the thin cotton of her underwear. He pressed slowly until her hips lifted slightly from the seat, and then he began to rub. Slow, back and forth motions, varying pressure depending on how she gasped and moaned into his mouth. He moved his other hand up and down her thigh, dragging the rough palm over her sensitive skin. Reggie's mouth ripped away from his on a moan, but she held on to him. She tugged at the lapels of his shirt, sometimes soft, sometimes hard, as if directing him, and the hard tugs were growing more frequent. She made a sound that was something like a frustrated squeal and threw her head back. Gus hadn't thought he could get any harder, but his jeans were painfully tight at the groin. He rocked back onto his heels and looked up at her. "You're so sexy." Her response was to press her feet against the footrest of her chair and lever her hips forward so that her ass was along the edge of the seat. Her knees were spread, her dress hiked up, exposing her black underwear. Gus. She was a woman used to getting what she wanted, and he was a man who knew what to give her. He knelt forward again, his hands sliding up and around her thighs to hold her in place as he tugged her a bit closer to the edge of her seat. He stretched the fingers of his right hand out over her mound and then curled them, pulling her underwear to the side to reveal neatly trimmed, dark, reddish-brown curls and a slick, brownish-pink nub between her folds. He ran his thumb over her one more time, and then he nestled his mouth over her and licked. Fuck. One of her hands went to his collar and the other grabbed an armrest of her chair. Fuck, Gustav. Gus swirled his tongue over her, then sucked gently, then sucked not so gently, loving the way she cried out his name, wanting to give her more pleasure. His own desire had overtaken him so that all he could think of was the scent of her, the taste of her, how she bucked up against his face and how she would feel clamping around his cock. He groaned against her clit, and Reggie bucked so sharply that he reached out to press down on her stomach and hold her in place. Her ab muscles convulsed under his palm as she ground against his face, riding out her orgasm, and then she collapsed back, breathing heavily. Oh my God. Her chest rose and fell, and then she lowered her head forward to look down at him. Her glasses were askew and her smile was sated. We're definitely going to have to do that again. But now? She gripped his shoulders and slipped her feet from the footrest to the floor, then levered herself to a standing position. He didn't move as she stood over him, bent at the waist. She took 2 shaky but definitive steps around him to drop into a seated position on her bed. She shimmied out of the beautiful emerald green dress she wore and tossed it across the room onto the laundry pile, then sat with her arms behind her to support her weight and her chin raised. Now, you join me on the bed. Her breasts were encased in some kind of crinkled, lacy bra that reminded Gus of the wrapper around a cupcake. Taking off that wrapper was his favorite part. I can do that. He wiped a sleeve over his mouth before standing and shucking his shirt, jeans, and socks so that he only wore his tinted boxer briefs, then closed the space between them. His mouth connected with hers, and she wrapped her arms around him, pulling his weight down onto her as she lay back on the bed. His elbows dug into the mattress on either side of her as he caught her weight, but his body pressed up along hers, skin to skin. He settled between her legs, the length of his cock notching against her slit, and her moans when she circled her hips to rub against him. Condoms? He asked. Bedside table. He leaned away from her to tug the drawer open, accidentally pulling it out of the nightstand completely. He grabbed a condom from a pink organizational tray and dropped the drawer to the floor with a clatter. Sorry, he said, returning his mouth to hers. Her rough exhalations caressed his lips. Put it on. I want you. Her words magnified whatever the feeling was in his chest, and then she reached between them to stroke him, first through the fabric of his boxers and then sliding her hand under the elastic waistband to grip his erection. She ran her loosely circled fingers up and down his shaft, her thumb caressing the sensitive spot under the head of his cock as she did so. Her hips rocked up against him, and the desire in her eyes sent an arc of pleasure through him so strong that he bit his lip against the desire to pump into her hand and ride it to completion. I want you, she said again, her voice an insistent whisper. Don't say that again for a while, he said hoarsely. I can only withstand so much. He stood, shucked his boxers, and carefully rolled on the condom. He crouched between her legs to kiss her thighs and slide off her underwear before crawling into the center of the bed beside her as she clambered back. Wait. He unlatched the hook on the front of her bra with one hand, revealing the perfect dark brown tipped mounds of her breasts. He teased her with his thumb and forefinger, and she groaned. Gus, I'm trying not to be demanding, but I really need you to fuck me or I seriously might explode. He laughed, rolling on top of her and settling between her legs again. I like it when you're demanding. Lucky you. When she kissed him, a soft, sweet contrast to her words, Gus groaned and thrust into her. He sucked in a breath at the almost overwhelming pleasure, the clamp of her inner walls around his cock, the way her eyes slammed shut and she cried out. Fuck, he breathed. You feel good, you smell good, you taste good, But Gus couldn't talk anymore. He lost his words to the sensation running down his spine, squeezing his balls, squeezing his heart. He wouldn't tell her what he was feeling. He would show her. He thrust into her hard, not minding the burn in his scalp as she tugged at his hair and the crescents of pleasure pain that she left in his shoulders as she gripped him. She threw one leg over his hip, spreading herself wider, taking him in deeper and holding him closer. Gus buried his face in her neck, the sweat from his brow and her temple pooling where their skin touched, their moans mingling in the air between the 4 posts of her bed. Yes, please. That one word urged him to slide her other leg up around his waist and lean forward so that his thrust hit her at a new angle. Reggie didn't like asking for things. If she said please, he would make sure not to disappoint. He looked down into her wide brown eyes and saw the moment just before her climax hit her, just before her body went taut and her pussy clamped him so tight that he couldn't hold back anymore. He tried to say her name as the pleasure walloped him from all sides, but he thought maybe he only emitted a series of grunts. Heat and light and pure ecstasy exploded in him, and somewhere in the back of his mind, he knew what he'd seen in Reggie's eyes. It had turned the last piece of the Rubik's Cube in his chest, amplifying his orgasm so that he had to clench his teeth against the force of it. He collapsed on top of her and then rolled them to their sides, pulling her close so that he could feel her racing heartbeat against his, just for a moment. She didn't pull away, despite their sweatiness. Her leg twitched between his. Damn, Gus. She kissed him on the ear, a quick peck because she seemed too jelly-boned and satiated to hold her head up for longer, and he felt like it signaled some new intimacy in their relationship. He finally opened his eyes, feeling that sunlight on his face sensation again. She was grinning at him, eyes bright, and oh God, he would have to be very careful because that impulsive feeling welled up in him with purpose. It'd only been a week since they met in person, and he had to take this slow, not get ahead of himself, not dive headlong like she was a newly unwrapped puzzle. What? She kissed him again. You're staring. Slow. Gus opened his mouth and that feeling that had been building in his chest jumped out without his permission. I love you. Her brows rose and the warm, lazy light in her eyes was gone in a blink, replaced by an alert weariness. What?
Welcome back. Kenrya, that was a lovely excerpt.
Was it?
Will you give us a synopsis of the story before we delve on in?
Is that the word you want it?
Delve?
Dive?
You know I'll be making shit up.
No, delve is a word. I think it's maybe past
chocolate?
tense of something. Chocolate?
I don't know. I think about like a cookie dunking into chocolate, but whatever. This is so random.
That's
Kenrya,
okay. You
give us
reminded me
a
I need to
synopsis.
order those Girl Scout cookies. Yeah, I forgot.
What?
I need to order Girl Scout cookies.
Oh, yeah. Nope. I'm still dealing with Christmas cookies. So I have so
Just
many
reminded
Christmas
me of what I
cookies.
have left to go get into.
Oh my God, I have so many Christmas cookies.
Because
All
y'all
right.
had gingerbread and stuff too.
Oh, I just threw those out.
Oh, good.
Like,
That's a lot.
no, get these out of my house.
Yeah. I did. Okay, so Can't Escape Love is part of the Reluctant Royals series that Alyssa Cole does. And so like in the main books, it's like people who like find out that they're royalty or like, you know, all these like relationships. And one of the people in each of those relationships is always like some kind of royalty. In the novellas, it's usually somebody who is like related to in some way. And maybe they work for one of those people or it's their family or whatever. So in this particular story, we are following Reggie, who runs it's like a nerd culture site for women. And her whole thing is like women won't be treated like shit like they are in the mainstream world. And it's supposed to be like, you know, really friendly for people of color and folks with disabilities to make them feel and be included in like nerd culture. So comic books and movies and yes, but not necessarily just black, but yeah. Reggie is black. She lives in Queens. And
New York.
Yes.
That's my New York accent.
You had it for like,
What you go? Eat a pizza pie.
that was awful.
Sorry.
But at least you tried. I don't even try accents. I'm terrible. So at the beginning of the book, Reggie has a problem. she's having trouble sleeping, and her insomnia is like making her make mistakes at work, and it's feeding her anxiety. And so she has decided that the very best way for her to deal with her insomnia is to write to this man whose videos she used to listen to fall asleep.
Now, see, if I can't fall asleep, I masturbate.
Well, we all have our things.
And that's how I know if I'm like having insomnia.
Because your masturbation count goes up.
Yeah. Like, geez, you've been tapping that button a lot. So, okay.
Yes. So she
Hers
reaches
is more
out.
wholesome.
Yes, but it's also a little strange, right? Like to ask somebody. She's like, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be creepy, but your voice helps me sleep. Can you make some recordings for me? He's like, nah, I don't know how you're going to use my voice. Don't trust you, but I'll talk to you on the phone. Because secretly, they both kind of like each other. When she was first listening to his voice, he was streaming. He had like this, like a stream where he would like do puzzles. So he is Gus. He is Vietnamese American. At the time, he was living in California, but we find out that he now lives very close to Reggie.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. And he like had this channel where he streamed and like did puzzles. He's like,
she didn't care. She just needed the voice.
Well, she's kind of found it because she kind of likes puzzles too, but the voice like kept her there, and she just thought he was interesting. So she was the only person who ever watched his stream, and so they got to be friends.
Oh, that makes me feel so much better about the turn on.
Like she would be like,
someone's gonna find us.
Seriously. And so like she would be like, you know, chatting, putting things in the chat, and he would answer her questions and like tell stories. And so it was just the two of them for months, like just doing this. And so, you know, she was like plotting out her business during this time when she was, you know, working or watching him, and it gave him ideas of cool things to do. He's an architect by trade, but is branching out into some other stuff. And so eventually they end up coming into the same space and falling in love.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And sexy hijinks ensue.
They do. ...
Yeah. Okay. So I will start with just... Reggie is dope.
Yes, she is.
She has a lot going on, and she has so many balls that she's juggling, and she seems to make sure that everything is covered.
Yeah.
You know, I hate using the strong black woman thing.
Yeah, but it's
what because Reggie's. I mean, it's clear from the text that Reggie's in a wheelchair.
Yes, Reggie has ataxia, which is basically it impedes her. It makes it difficult for her to control her motor, like her motor skills are difficult. She's kind of jerky sometimes. It's safer and easier for her to move around in a wheelchair, although she can move with a walker, and sometimes she takes it to the park. But none of that has anything to do with the work that she does, except for that she wants to make the space more inclusive for everybody and not, you know, made to feel like she can't cosplay because she's in a chair or that kind of thing.
Yeah. So I brought that up because it's one of those things of the strong black woman. You know, you look at her and people, you know, reading her story, people probably look at it like, oh, she's so strong. You're doing everything in spite of. And it's like, girl,
this ain't got nothing to do with that.
I got shit I need to do and I get it done. But yeah, she really has it all of her ducks in a row.
She does.
And everything covered.
Except she can't sleep.
Except she can't sleep. But I think that could be, this is me being a therapist. Do you think that her not being able to sleep is maybe kind of a, you know how you like try to keep everything under wraps, and I mean keep everything under control, and then something leaks, and that's the leak in the dam, her inability to sleep.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, you know, she doesn't say that. Well, she says that her insomnia feeds her anxiety, and then she also says at some point that she had been watching these videos that are made for ADHD, and that they were helping her. So I think like she's just like all of us, has a lot of stuff going on, and your brain finds ways to pop it up on you, right? Like that has been my experience, especially with my anxiety and my insomnia. I mean, my shit was so bad last year that my therapist like threatened to put me on medication because I wasn't sleeping. She was like, you're going to crash and fucking burn if you don't sleep, because it's just this vicious cycle where the insomnia makes the anxiety worse, the anxiety makes the insomnia worse, and then you just up wide-eyed in the middle of the fucking night.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's terrible.
So Reggie, you said that, I said that Reggie has a lot, has everything covered, and I think I see this a lot in Black women, where we feel like we have to take care of everything. It all has to be done, and all has to be done correctly and perfectly and right. Do you think Reggie feels that?
Yeah. And she has, she talks about having a hard time delegating. She has people on her team, but she don't trust nobody to do it quite the way that she can do it.
Why are you so loud?
Sorry.
Well, you know what? No, I'm less of that person.
Yeah,
now.
you are.
I am like, girl, y'all do it. If it get done, it get done.
Really?
Figure that shit out.
Well, but that came with what? Like therapy and time.
Lots of time and lots of therapy.
And knowing, and she goes to therapy. She does
Good.
do that. And you can see her progress over the course of the book. But I think that's absolutely one of the things that she's dealing with, and it's one of the things that I could relate to. Yeah.
Girl, as being your partner on this project called The Turn On, I so see it so much more now.
Really?
Yeah.
But I trust you on, I don't ever,
No,
I'm never
not
over your
saying,
shoulder or anything like that.
I'm not
okay.
saying in the sense of, because I think we do a really great job of this
we
is
just
your
trust
job,
each other
this is
to
my
do-
job,
yeah.
that kind of thing. But I feel like you definitely have it in you to be like, we got to do more. We got to do more. Because let me tell y'all, if this was an Erica produced situation, there would have been some weeks where y'all would have just been waiting for an upload. And I would have been like, y'all know we coming back. I mean, like, I'm like, Jesus, he came back. I will too.
It is definitely that
Wait, no, he ain't come
perfectionism.
back yet. He rose, and he gonna come back.
Yes.
I know that, but no, oh shit, that was bad. But anyway, yeah, like, but
That's funny.
I see that in you,
Because to
and
me, there's never a reason to not do what you say you're going to do.
a bitch, motherfucking tired.
know, but I
But I
that's
think
the perfectionism in me, and it's
I
something I'm
think
working
that-
on.
I think that it's great that we both do this together because, and we had this conversation towards the end of the year, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna let you go on this one because there will be a week where we gonna be like, and I'll be like, no, and either y'all gonna hear Kenrya by herself, which won't happen because Kenrya will not half-ass produce anything, or we just gonna have to take a break.
Hopefully by then we'll have enough episodes to carry us for we can take a break.
Yeah, and if not, you don't care. I don't give a shit. I mean, I do, but at the same time, like, I have really learned to
You have healthy work
prioritize.
boundaries.
Huh?
You have healthy boundaries around work, and I don't.
But I think it's part of it is because we're gonna keep going. I think part of it is because you are a freelancer, and so you really have to like
Push.
eat what you kill.
Yeah.
You kill what you eat.
Same thing.
Eat, kill, whatever. You got to bring that to the bacon to the table.
If I don't work, I don't get
the
paid.
veggie bacon. And so
I've never had veggie bacon. Sounds disgusting.
It sounds disgusting.
Yeah.
I like literally felt chalk in my mouth when I said that. Yeah. So I think that is it. We have very different situations, which allow us to have very different attitudes towards it. However, this 9-to-5 mentality is going to infect you one way or the other.
I don't know.
Now, as I transition to my outside, I have made it a point to say that this is my last 9-to-5, and I will be doing some shit on my own in the near future.
Yes.
Now, I'm definitely going to have to take a page or two from Killer's book. But right now, until then, not dog. Y'all niggas gonna get what the fuck y'all gonna get when y'all gonna get it. But yeah.
Meanwhile, Reggie is definitely a perfectionist, and she struggles with that.
Yeah.
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 Which is one of the symptoms of what?
Codependency.
Yay!
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I mean, she's codependent as hell.
Yeah.
And you see it in this scene because she says to Gus, well, no, Gus says like, look, I can feel that she doesn't want to need me.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that let's go back. Codependency. Can you define it well?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, I can try. It's meeting the need. It in general means meeting the needs of others without meeting your own needs. And it can show up in a lot of different ways. And one of the ways that it shows up is being needless and wantless. So that is how it comes through with Reggie. She's needless. She don't need nobody to do nothing for her. She got every motherfucking thing covered. Get out of my face. Mm-hmm. And that's how she treats Gus at times. And God, I could absolutely see myself in her.
Alyssa,
sometimes.
you wrote the hell out of this character.
Yeah. Like for real. But I think I'm a lot better at it. I've been working at it, but there was a time when,
and you're able to, the part of the reason that you know you're better at it is because you're able to see it.
Because I can see it. Yeah. Because if someone had told me that before, I wouldn't have even understood what they were talking about. But yeah, it definitely comes. That's how I saw it coming through in her, was the fact that she was quote unquote needless.
Yeah. And going back to this strong Black woman, I think that she is just leaning into being a strong Black woman. And this is what I do because I have to. And this codependency thing, not only does it get in the way of good relationships, but it gets in the way of good sex.
It does, because if you don't have boundaries, but you have walls, which is one of the ways that codependency
and yes,
shows
we
up.
like getting our walls torn down.
In all the ways.
But not like that.
If you've built, rather than having strong boundaries, which you can, adjust to the situation and the person, but you've built walls which are immovable and hard
boundaries
to get past.
Are like fences.
Yeah, they got a
walls
gate.
Are walls.
Yeah, exactly. And so she got some walls, and they spend the book like knocking them shits down in all the ways you can think of.
Knocking down them walls.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's really cool that Alyssa wrote this character like this and was able to demonstrate it in this character, because I identify with her so much. It's like I can do it all. I don't need nobody's help. I'm a strong Black woman.
Yeah. And then I think for her, there's this other element, and she talks about it. Reggie, she says that in her past relationship, well, she says in her head, right? Because she wouldn't tell anybody this. Mm-hmm. But in her past relationships, she's been with men who have made her feel like she had to need them. Mm-hmm. Like she couldn't do things. So part of her strong Black woman thing is a reaction to that. Yeah. Like, don't treat me like I can't fucking take care of myself. I'm grown. I've been taking care of myself. I'm not waiting for some man to come so that I can fall apart and now he can put me back to fucking together. I'm good. But she said that, like, men, she had men who wanted to coddle her or wanted to fix her or wanted to, what was the other thing? Coddle her, fix her, or tell her how to run her life in general and her business and all of that shit. And she's like, I don't need that shit.
Yeah, you overcompensating. And so now she's overcompensating. Yes. Like you put on this, I have it all together. Everything is perfect. Mm-hmm. So you don't even have an opportunity to come in and say,
that's right,
you need to fix or do. Because I think it's a fine line in relationships with being open to criticism and critique and help.
Yeah.
And having someone thinking that they can fix you.
Yes.
I find that, especially with me dating older men, I find it, it happens. And how
do you handle that?
Well, one, I'm better at picking older men now. Because sometimes, like, older men are like, let me tell you how to do everything, but now I'm better at just, my picker is better. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like that is always a source of contention in relationships with me, because even to this day, and maybe this is the codependency, vestiges of the codependency. Is that the right word?
Yes.
I think it is. Y'all know I be making shit up. Vestiges of, I didn't take the SAT, so I be using them words.
Y'all took the ACT?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Midwest.
Yeah, see, I took both, but
No,
yeah. And most people in the Midwest take
the
ACT.
bare minimum. Oh, the school let me in with an ACT? Big. Cool.
Yeah.
So I think there's vestiges of the codependency still in me where I don't, I'm always open to critique and criticism from my girlfriends.
Yeah, you're really good at taking it.
I am really good at taking it from my girlfriends. From a man, it takes a little bit more for me to get it.
Why do you think that is?
Cause you a nigga and you in here trying to fix me and change me and tell me what the fuck to do. I mean, it's just that simple.
Yeah.
And I wish it was more. I wish it was better than that. And I find that with some guys, one is about how you say it. But I mean, like I was dating this guy and he was at my house and it was something about like feeding a dog. And he was like, yeah, you feeding him too much or something, something about like,
Nigga, this ain't your dog. Fuck out of here.
That was my complete and exact response. Like, nigga, fuck you. This is my fat ass dog. But then I was thinking like,
Do I feed him?
this nigga fat than a motherfucker. Not only is he fat, but he eats good twice a day. And he eats anything anybody else has.
Yes.
So it was one of them things where it was like, you know what? Maybe he was right. And my response a lot of times when men tell me something, it's immediate like like, nigga, don't tell me that. But then I have to like take a step back and be like, you know what? I heard you. Like, I heard you. I got it. Thank you for sharing. Because I don't want to be one of them like know-it-all chicks.
Yeah.
Which I do know everything.
I mean, listen.
But yeah, like it's always it's a knee-jerk reaction. Like, nigga, this is my life. This, like I will come to, because I do feel like the guys that I date, they bring more than just dick to the table. Now they do bring dick, good dick.
First and foremost.
But, they're smart and doing well in their own right, in their own space. And so I do think that there's value in bouncing things off of people and that kind of thing. But I guess for me, my girlfriends, I look at like, you love me, you care about me.
Right. They get more of the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, like we got a one girlfriend, Detroit Princess.
Yep, I knew that's who you was about to say.
When I tell you this bitch is opinionated.
She is, but she always has really good insight.
Yes. And so like, and if you don't know her or don't get her, you were just like, this bitch got something to say about everything. However, she is like next to Kenrya, one of the people that I bounce just about everything off of because she has such good insight.
Yeah.
But if you don't know her or understand her, you can definitely get the like.
She argues about everything.
Yeah.
Vibe or whatever. But yeah, no, it's just that she really does have opinions and really good ideas.
And great ways of looking at things,
Yeah.
coming outside of herself to look at things. And she can say things to me unsolicited. And I'd be like, okay, cool. I'm going to take that and, whereas a nigga could probably come say the same thing unsolicited. And I'd be like, who the fuck you think you know? You don't know me. You
Right.
ain't shit. But yeah, I think that's the codependency in me. And so I need to get better at,
Or it could just be that you don't trust niggas.
yeah, but I don't want to not trust niggas. I just want to be better at like, calibrating my trust. Well, I don't even want to say trusted niggas advice because I were in relationships. I was in relationships with guys that wanted to turned me into somebody
Right.
that I allowed to turn me into somebody.
Because their advice was self-serving.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Narcissist, nigga.
Narcissist niggas. But I mean, you telling me I'm feeding my dog and making him fat. There ain't much.
Right. It's not benefiting him any.
My dog is fat.
That's okay. That's your cutie pie. So this is something that I've been actively working on. I, like, you tell me this all the time. Like, sometimes I am defensive when people tell me things. And sometimes I just sound defensive because my general, like, way of being is like, what? And so I've been working to better reflect how I actually feel about things with the way that it comes out of my mouth. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like literally working with my therapist. So for me, that means taking a deep breath before I respond, smiling, because because I had issues with this. I was like, I don't want to be fake. Like I'm trying to make a fake, face or whatever. And she was like, but you don't feel defensive or upset, do you? And I was like, no. She was like, well, the fact that your face and your voice makes it come across that way is the fake thing. So match up the way that you come across with the way that you actually feel.
Your therapist is good.
Ain't she though? And that was a really good way for me to think about it, because I like trying to smile through it and like make my voice a little softer and all of those things just kind of felt like I was shrinking myself, because I've been in situations where I had to shrink to get by. Where you were shrinking yourself. Exactly. And so I've been working hard to, one, not be defensive. And then two, to not come across as defensive when I really am not. Because sometimes I think I just come across that way. Because my voice is like, what? What you want?
I think in your mind it does, but it's not.
What do you mean?
In your mind it comes off as what you want, but it never.
Well, no, I think I've been told.
I'm your friend and not a nigga. So
this is true. So maybe it's a different,
yeah, it's not that way to me.
Well, I do it sometimes in therapy, and she be like, girl, all right.
Yeah.
Just take a breath. So,
All right. So we punish niggas for the sins of other niggas. Current niggas for the sins of past niggas.
Which is difficult, and it's something Reggie does.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And so what do you think it is about Gus that kind of cracks that shell for her? Because you can tell even in that scene, she is just, she wants it, but she wants to give you just enough, but not, she wants to give Gus just enough, but not all.
I think she appreciates that he's direct. And I think she appreciates the way that he thinks and the way that he lets her in on the way that he thinks. So Gus has autism. And he talks, and he, like I was saying earlier, he does puzzles, and he kind of looks at the world as a puzzle. Like that's his way of processing things and emotions, because he feels like otherwise he may not actually see what everybody else can see in terms of how people react to things emotionally.
And he touches on that in this excerpt where he refers to her as a puzzle.
Exactly. And so like when he hears her speak, he literally will make that a piece of the puzzle, think back on other things that she said, select the thing that he feels. But then he talks through it. So I think so much, like, first of all, there's no real such thing as a typical brain. Yes.
Information helps reduce anxiety.
Exactly.
Let me know what you're thinking. That's a lot of what's going, that's a lot of times what women are fighting in relationships. Like,
niggas don't speak.
What are you thinking? Tell me what's going on. Tell me what you're thinking.
The basis of emotional intelligence is so much of it just opening your fucking mouth and seeing what's going on in your head. And he has no problem doing that, which seems counterintuitive because he says that he's difficult with emotional stuff, but she says it to him. She was like, from where I sit, you're really good. She's like, I'm not trying to discount what you're saying about the way that your brain works. She's like, but you do a great job of overcoming that, so to speak, in the way that you communicate.
That's like his superhero power.
Yes.
Like,
yes. And I think that that's what ultimately, because she doesn't have to guess, and because she sees him being so open and honest and direct about the way he feels, it pushes her to access her own emotions and communicate them better. Yeah.
Gus needs to be giving out puzzle classes.
And it don't hurt that their sex is really good. They enjoy each other. So and she was his voice already kind of had her open. She just didn't want to admit it.
Oh. So
have you ever been open just from somebody's voice?
Maybe not from the voice, but I am simple, so it could. So, let me think about this, because maybe not from the voice, but I'm simple, so It's
I was in like middle school and high school when a lot of what I was doing was just talking on the phone anyway.
Oh, you know what? Yup.
You just remember the specific instance.
Yup. Yeah, like talking even now, because like these days we don't talk on the phone. It's like, especially me, because I am not a phone talker.
Except for me, with me.
I know, it's so fucked up, because I will sit on the phone with Kenrya for like hours, be like, girl, this third toe of mine. Ugh, these green panties I wore. Like, that is literally verbatim a conversation. But generally, I'm not a phone talker, especially with men, because it's like, we ain't in the fucking third grade. If you want to see me, let's make time to be in one another's company. And then we'll be in each other's company, and we get to, like, you know, do love, kiss on each other, all of that, you know. But outside of that, like, no. And so for me, phone conversations now are like getting like letters in the mail. It's like a great like treat, like, I actually enjoy sitting on the phone with you. So yeah, I definitely could see myself being open just off some phone conversations, because again, I'm simple. I am like one of them, like, you know how they say, like, how they be like, just give her some shiny shit and she'll follow it. That's me, like,
A magpie.
oh yeah, I'm like, oh, okay, that's great. All right, we're gonna be here.
That's funny.
I'm definitely a magpie when it comes to stuff like that. But I'm also thinking, like, I can't, like, something in my shungo, my spirit. Something in my spirit is telling me that, like, I've been open for a nigga over like some simple shit, like he's got great hands or a watch or something like that. But like, cause something about some nice hands on a man, some clean, nice hands and well manicured.
That does it for you?
I just be thinking like, this nigga fingering my pussy. Again,
I like
simple.
nice teeth.
Oh, I love good teeth.
Yeah.
I'm so into teeth. My teeth are big.
Are they?
They're big. And so teeth are very important to me, because they're just my teeth are big. And so I'm like always into everybody's mouth.
I got little tiny gremlin teeth. I just like nice smiles.
He got little baby
teeth.
baby teeth. My sister has baby teeth too. But yeah, so I do like good teeth. And you know, not like Instagram teeth, because everybody got
like
good teeth
real
these days.
Teeth. Like your teeth, but
yeah, like I did Invisalign this summer, and I actually really love they closed my gap just a smidge too much, but whatever, we'll deal. But I really like good natural teeth. Like, give me a bit of, like, you know, scruff,
little
to 'em.
variants.
Little variants. Like, don't give me those Instagram teeth. Now, I'm telling y'all, when we blow up and we get the money and some doctor from Miami wants to come and give us some teeth, I'm not going to take them. Now, I might force them on somebody else just because it's some free shit. But, yeah.
But there may be something on the timeline.
Yeah, I mean, you know, just, you know.
You're not counting anything out. I like a nice smile and like nice skin.
Ugh.
But like just like dark.
I don't want to say it's a fetish. I love dark skin. Just like beautiful. And dark skinned women.
Oh my God.
Oh,
It's everything.
Oh, I be like, put some oil on, this lady. You know, and you know what I think did it for me? Belly. Oh my gosh, what is that chick's name, girl?
Tamar, ain't that her name?
Keisha.
Well, that's her name in the movie. Yes.
But yeah, just like
baby oil with that blue light.
Oh,
best part of the whole fucking movie.
And the thing is, like, I feel like women are beautiful. I feel like God was in his bag when he made them.
When he made black women.
When he made black women, he was like, look, throw some hips on that bitch or not.
Good either way.
But I was talking to this guy because we were talking about doing a threesome, and he was, like, what kind of woman do you like? I was like, I like women that look like me. Like, I like just first logistics. I'm not against a weave. However, I want to be able to like touch and feel and pull and all that. And so I don't want to feel like
or her shit just needs to be extra secure.
Because as a woman, I know the
anxiety,
the logistics in obtaining a weave. And so I'd be like, But then I just like just great skin. Oh, dark skin. Oh. We went somewhere. It was this dark skinned woman. I literally like followed her around like a puppy, like, hey, how you doing? And it wasn't like a sex club. It was like we were like at like a bar or something. I was just like, hey girl, you want to be my friend? You're just real pretty. Like, it's just So Kenrya, I'm sorry you're not a fetish.
I know. As I sit over here with my gorgeous
I'm like looking at her like, she probably thinks I picked her as a best friend as a fetish. You were fucking gorgeous, but I did not, and I don't have dreams about doing it to you.
That's good.
I mean, just,
appreciate it.
Thing. Whatever. So our homeboy Gus scared the shit out of our homegirl Reggie.
When
he said, I love you.
Oh. What are you doing here?
Because he said it, and it was just like,
he said the light in her eyes changed.
Like, wait, what? What the fuck? So we touched on this recently about saying I love you. It is well established that I will say that shit if I'm feeling it. It comes out like a fart, like, I love you. Because to me, there's no like, I do. So I'm going to tell you. So you have that information. What about you, Kenrya?
As we've already established, that is more difficult for me.
Has it always been difficult?
Yes.
Or is it more difficult now that you're more aware and a thinker and with someone that you do love? And
it's always been difficult.
But is it more difficult with him? Was it more difficult? Did you feel like it was more higher stakes? Or, it was more genuine or something like that?
I think it was, it definitely felt like higher stakes because the love feels different. So,
yeah,
so I've finally, I have said those words.
Da da da.
Yes. And it's just a different situation. It's like if somebody were to ask me if I'd ever been in love before, I would say yes. But I would also make the analogy of like, it's like if you only ever had
it's like
soy, ice milk, like something
like
that you thought was ice cream. You know what I mean? Like in all these years you was eating it and it was fine. It was soy milk ice cream. It's the only thing you ever had. It's like,
it's like when people go to France, like niggas drink wine here and then they go to France to drink wine.
I don't like wine, but yes. But then one day you have full fat, fucking the best ice cream anybody has ever made with all the lactose, whole milk, all of it, and then you like, oh, that's what love feel like.
It's like I only thought love was Roy G. Biv,
yeah,
but now it is the whole Panettone wheel.
Pantone, yes.
Panettone.
Okay.
I'm thinking of the bread.
Yeah.
What's that? Isn't there an Italian bread that's a panettone?
I don't know.
Panna cotta. The big bread with all the whatever. Anyway.
I thought panna cotta was more like a gushy, like a dessert situation. Like
hey
flan.
Siri, what's that Italian bread named?
That's not gonna do it. She don't know.
Here's what I found.
What's that voice on your Siri?
I have a man because I need a man to be doing the labor for me.
I love it. Siri is disabled on my phone. I don't fuck with her.
I don't do the Hey Siri only because I know too many Sarahs and Sherrys and that kind of shit.
You be talking about somebody and been called her?
My child don't know Panettone. Panettone. Italian Christmas bread.
Okay.
My child don't do shit with his phone. Everything is through Siri.
Oh, wow.
So I said, hey, kid, it's the, holidays and weekends. So I'm like, hey, kid, you can stay up till midnight.
Oh,
Set an
shit.
alarm. Because then he sleep later in the day. I'm like, hey, kid, set an alarm. So you go to bed at midnight because my ass going to be asleep at
Long
9.
asleep.
So he's like, okay. And he was like, hey, Siri, set an alarm. Like,
Mine does the same thing.
okay, so that must be
Yeah.
where they got it
I'm
from
like,
one another.
I just have it on my phone as one of the things you can flip up so I can press it and be it real quick. I thought I was doing something, but she'd be like, yeah, hey, Siri, set a timer for 30 minutes. Like if she's got 30 minutes of reading time that she has to do, she just tells Siri to set it for her. She don't touch it.
Yeah.
Must be cool.
They
Like,
living lives that we couldn't
yeah,
even.
it's pretty cool.
Well, yeah, he's gotten better at it because I do, like, you got 30 minutes of reading time. So then he'll come and be like, have I been reading for 30 minutes?
Did you not set a fucking timer?
Well, I can tell you that right now, you need to start reading. And 30 minutes from now, you know what? I'll give you 5-minute credit. But
set a motherfucking timer.
so then
next
he
time.
be in that joint like an hour. Like, that's not my thing. Like, it's your responsibility to keep up with that joint.
That's right.
So they living wild. Okay, we got all off.
We did. It's fine.
All off. So have you ever? So we've established that it's difficult, but you're seeing colors, seeing the full range of
Spectrum,
colors.
yes. It's pretty cool.
Have you ever been surprised by someone telling you that they love you?
Yes. Well, kind of.
Story time.
It's a very short story. So there was this dude who I was seeing years ago when I was seeing, he was my boyfriend. And I got waxed for the first time. So it was sugaring, and hindsight, I don't do that shit no more.
Sugaring is very different. Sugaring is the equivalent of taking a ball
shit
of
hurt.
tape
And just sticking it over and over. I ain't know. And that shit hurt like hell. But anyway, I got sugared. I think it was like my birthday. And I was going to introduce him to some new shorn pussy. So go over there. We having sex. He sees it. He's super surprised. He says, oh, I fucking love you. And I was like... So on one hand, I'm like, does he actually love me? And this is just when he said it? Or does he just love
the fact that I gave you some fresh pussy?
Right. I wasn't quite sure. So then I said it like maybe a few weeks later, I said it back because I didn't say anything in that moment. I just kept fucking. And it just was awkward, and yeah, like I don't know what this means. I don't know what to do. Yeah. So that was surprising.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, have I had anyone tell me and it surprised me? No, I don't think so.
Have you always felt it already?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, how could you not love a bitch? So
I was like, in that situation, I did love him, but again, it's hard for me to say it. So I hadn't said it anyway. Saying it first is not my bag.
yeah, I just say it. I mean, I don't think I'm always the first one to say it. Or you know what? I probably am. But I definitely don't say it with the expectation that like, I
Which
don't
makes
do
all
it
the
and be like, I
difference.
love you.
Right. I'm going to sit here and stare at you with crazy eyes. Yeah. Say it back.
Until you tell me.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's what I was doing, but y'all can't see.
Yeah, that's why I figured I'd narrate
At
a
one
little.
point, we'll put some cameras down here. Well,
We are definitely in our pajamas, and
we
this
can
is
do
how we prefer
and I
to
can do the
record.
luchador mask.
Yes, that's something.
I might have a mask like that.
But I don't
for
want to put
my
on
OnlyFans.
clothes.
Huh?
I don't want to put on clothes.
I mean, shit. We might get more views
Oh, well, okay.
without them. Yeah. I mean, every time it's been said to me, I feel like it's kind of on its way. And that's how I mean, I don't just like. Don't
Yeah, it's not willy-nilly. You know,
I
like
don't
you just
just
handing
be
it out.
slanging them out willy-nilly, but
Yeah.
at the same time, like if I feel it, I'm gonna tell you. And you probably have felt it because at some point I probably shown it in some respect. But yeah, And again, this is Erica. You gonna love all of this. Somebody tell me I love you. I'm like, about fucking time you realize that I was the best thing in your life.
Or like my kid, when you tell her that something she did was cool. I know.
I'm
like, all right, keep that confidence.
Please do.
I like it.
Okay. Well, this wraps up this week's episode of The Turn On.
It does.
So this is your host, Erica, and your host,
Killer.
Two hoes making it clap. This episode was produced by us, Erica and Kenrya, and edited by Ballistic. The theme song is from Brazy. We want to hear from y'all. Send your book recommendations and all the burning sex and related questions you want us to answer to theturnonpodcast@gmail.com. And please subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast app. Follow us on Twitter @theturnonpod and Instagram @theturnonpodcast, and find links to our books, transcripts, guest info, and other fun stuff at theturnonpodcast.com. And remember, The Turn On is now a part of the Frolic Podcast Network. You can find more shows you'll love at frolic.media/podcast. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you soon. Holla!